Alright, here we are, it's Mr. Rops here, and awesome 10th graders, we are doing the cubic family of functions, and just make sure we've done x squared, we've done linear functions, we have done the absolute value function, we have done the square root function, and now we're working on the cubic function. Okay, by the end of the year we'll do all of them. So here we go. For the cubic function, the key to the cubic function is that it's x cubed. Similar to x squared is a quadratic, cubic is x cubed. And when we know we also had for quadratics ax squared plus bx plus c, well, the same thing happens when we have our cubic functions as well. And we could also write cubic functions in factored form, and we get a in front always, and it's x minus p, x minus q, and x minus r, where r, q, and p are the x-intercepts. But we can also do what we call a vertex form, where it's a x minus h cubed plus k. And vertex is a bit misleading because it's not quite the vertex, it's the pivot point is what we call it. And so let's take a look at what the function actually looks like. Let's look at the parent function. We should look at y is equal to x cubed. If I make myself a table, as always, here is x and here is y. I'll start at 0, -1, -2, -3, 1, 2, 3. So 0 cubed is 0. I'll go 1 cubed is 1. 2 to the power 3 is 2 times 2 times 2, that is 8. 3 to the power 3 is 27. 3 times 3 times 3. And then going to the negative side, so when I plug -1 in there, -1 times -1 times -1, well, that ends up being 3 negatives, makes a -1. When I do make this times -2 times -2 times -2, I get -8, and this will be -27. So when I come along here and graph this scenario, I have 0, 0 in the middle, I have 1, 1, I have 2, 8, and 3, 27. Similarly, I have 1, -1, -2, 8, and so I get this graph here that goes like this. It's hard to do on the screen. And there is our x cubed graph. If we want to see, here is our x cubed graph on Desmos, you can see that it's actually nice and almost like this half of the quadratic is going down. Alright, so it's not a parabola, there's no vertex, there's no axis of symmetry, but we do have an a value. The a value for the basic function is 1. And as opposed to, we go over 1, up 1, over 2, up 8. Okay, so we just go up 2 cubed, up 3 cubed. So it's the same kind of scenario, but it goes over left, down, over and down scenario. We do have a new pivot point. That 0, 0 is our pivot point, and we'd like to keep track where that goes. We also have x-intercepts and y-intercepts. X-intercepts are also called roots and zeros. So if it asks find the roots of the equation, that means find the x-intercepts. And so then I do have the domain. In this case, x can be any real number. Shouldn't surprise you. But the range, it will always go up forever and down forever. Again, it is all real numbers. And the inverse, well, remember I take my x and y values and I switch them. So that means that my inverse, switch them around, I get x is equal to y cubed. And so then I have to take the cube root, and so y is equal to the cube root of x. Or we could also write that as x to the power of 1/3, if you remember that from last year. So the inverse is x to the 1/3, or the cube root of x. And so there's a little 3 there that we write. Here's a little 3 that we write. This is being square root, and there's actually a little 2, but we never write it because We just don't. Okay, and so there's your introduction to the cubic function.